I'd like to welcome all of you on behalf of CIC as well as the Masjid al-Muslimin and Islamic Center of Colombia. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all for being here this morning. Some of you have drove 7 hours to arrive here, some 5, some 3.5, some 2. But regardless, from wherever you came, inshallah, we pray that Allah will make it in your scale in the day of the judgment. It is our pleasure to host you today, and I pray and I hope that we'll be a good host for all of you, inshallah. My name is Muhammad Adli. Please, if you need anything, if I can assist by any means, call in me. Number 2 person, Brother Habibullah Abdullah. You can call in him. Anybody else from Colombia, you can call in them, he or she. Inshallah, we'll be glad to assist you to the best of our ability. The first lecture, inshallah, concerning current issues or affairs of the Muslim Ummah, that is going to be by Abu Salih, Dr. Tayyib. May Allah reward him for being here with us this morning. And it is my pleasure personally, understand, to have him here to lecture us this morning, inshallah. Without taking too much of your time, inshallah, we're going to be starting the first lecture. And after this, if there is any question and answer, will be after the lecture. We estimate to finish by 7:20, 7:30 max. This includes the question and answer. After this, inshallah, will be the breakfast, or you can call it a snack if you want. It depends who. Okay, this is up to you. And inshallah, after this will be time for those who arrive 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning to take a short nap. And those who still have more energy like myself, they can go outside and start jogging, or you can socialize with each other, or you can see the bazaar outside, inshallah. Again, I don't want to take too much of your time, but going to have 3 lectures, and we're going to have 3 meals. 1 is already gone, and 2 is coming, and plus tax. So please enjoy your day, and this is supposed to be a program called Together 24 hours. We already had passed about 8 hours since last night with each other, so may Allah give us patience to continue until 7 o'clock. Have a good day, everybody. Brother Sheikh Dr. Tayyib, the mic is yours. You can turn in the small switch, please, and be ready to go. It's already on. Thank you. And I encourage all of you, if you can take 1 step towards the speaker, inshallah. A little bit move. This includes Abu Hamza, inshallah. This includes Abu Hamza, inshallah, please. شوف فتوى قدامك كتير يا أبو حمزة عشان الناس تخش. الحريم ورانا، الله يرضى عليك.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Brothers and sisters in Islam, Sheikh Bassam was supposed to be here with us, and I'm sure everybody knows Sheikh Bassam. But due to a few things that he had to do today, he just couldn't. He was planning to come, but subhanAllah, I wouldn't be the person to fill on his shoes, no question about that. But I will try my best to talk about the subject, which is current issues. During the talk, we might go through some observations in the Quran. So it is by no means considered as fatwa or considered as something concrete. It's Quran. So when you read the Quran, it's not just for the pleasure of reading it, going through stories. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala time and again talks about using the rational, al-aql. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to those who ponder to those who meditate, to those who think Quran. So there will be some observations, like I said. Maybe there may be some mistakes there. We're human. So the intention is not to say that everything is going to be presented here is absolutely correct and not debatable, not controversial. Your help is needed in this because I want to benefit from you more than I could benefit you. And that's what I have to say before we start. The subject is current issues. Current issues, there are too many current issues. So even the ones I wrote, I don't think I'll be able to finish them today. And quite honestly, I was just developing these slides while we were coming. So I didn't finish everything that I wanted to finish. So probably if I finish what I had, then we would stop this one and I'll just continue without it. So let's go ahead and see what we have here. The first issue I have is imams. There's a big issue with imams. I mean, don't take it from the negative point of view. No. We will see what I mean by that. Second issue is hypothesis. Third issue that we'll be talking about is homosexuality. Fourth issue is atheism. The fifth issue is terrorism. If we have time, we'll talk about politics and race. Believe it or not, all of these issues are hot buttons, sensitive. So let's try to get the first one, Imam issues. Number one I have over here is agenda. Like I said, we're not here to judge, we're not judging. But also, as imams, we do not expect every imam to be perfect. We do not expect that there is no imam who have hidden agenda. There are some imams who have hidden agenda. As few as they are, but there are some imams who have hidden agenda. This hidden agenda could adversely affect the communities. And we will talk about it when we get deeper into the subject. As far as imams are concerned, we have different backgrounds of imams. In the 60s and 70s, all the imams were pretty much, they call them imported imams, between quotes. That means those who were brought over here to teach people, be it immigrants who came for education, or the inhabitants who accepted Islam. So some governments paid money to have imams come and teach. And you know, the problem of an imam coming from outside to teach, language could be the problem, culture could be the problem, too many differences. Okay. But also we have the first generation Americans who are now imams. These are the children of the immigrants. They have their own philosophies. They have their own mind set up. They have, of course, some education from their dads and moms who were not born over here, but also they have what they learned from school and they consider themselves Americans. And finally, we have also the nationalities, the immigrant nationalities. Unfortunately, if you go to pretty much big cities, you will find a masjid for Bosnians, Imam Bosnian, a masjid for Somalis, Imam Somali, a masjid for Arabs, a masjid for Hindustanis. Now there is a masjid for Indians, masjid for Egyptians, masjid for Palestinians, and it will be a few blocks away in big cities. So the nationalities were still bringing it with us into masjids and into worship. I mean, I've heard some nice thing about when you come to the masjid, along with your shoes, also take off your nationality. When you come in, no nationality. We're all equal. When you go out, if you're racism, if you're a racist person, it's up to you. I mean, I'm not talking about you in particular. But whatever you want, you could do it outside. But once we come into the masjid, that's it. We're all equal, we're all Muslims, we don't know about nationalities. Background is one of the main issues that we have. An imam comes into a community. If the community is not from his background, that imam would have hard time sooner or later, and the community will end up replacing that imam, getting an imam from their own backgrounds. Social work. Most of what imams do, in my humble judgment, is social work. Of course they advise, of course they lead prayers, of course they teach, they resolve problems, but most of what they're doing is social work. The question is, are we really ready? I mean, do we really have the know-how to actually carry on social work? I mean, imams, do imam have the social work capability? I mean, social work, it needs knowledge, it needs skills, it needs experience. If we don't, then we have to do something about it. Why? Because imams are the ones who are going to shape up the generations to come. Okay? And these generations may face even more difficult issues to handle. So the imams' knowledge of social work and practice of social work, okay, without violating any of the Islamic rules. Islam has its own social work. Okay. But the question is it possible for every imam to actually do social work that's consistent with the Islamic values and what Islam wants, the aims of Islam? Communal work. I don't know about community work. Okay? I call it communal work. But are we as Muslims living in communities involved in community work? That's the main issue. I mean, it's an issue. Damn if you do it, damn if you don't. If you do it, sometimes you get involved with some things that may not be permissible. If you don't do it, then you're isolating yourself and the society in which you live. They consider you like, you think of yourself as, okay, maybe I'm better, I don't want to mix, whatever. So, things that we could do as communities, we could, for example, clean up the streets around us. We could do some voluntary work, a lot of voluntary works that could be done, and that would reflect positively among the societies in which we live. It will reflect positively, and it will give an image of the true Islam, okay? Because cleanliness is something that we have to practice and preach. And practice it not within ourselves, within our masjids only, within our communities also. Political work. This is something that could be debatable. Some people may think that we should be involved. Others may think that we should not be involved. But it is an issue that people have to also handle. Youth handling. Youth, when they are raised up at home, before they go to school, they will be listening to what their dads and moms have to say. And especially if the dads and moms are immigrants, then they would probably have the background of their own dads and moms. Once they go to the school, they will be totally confused, because some of the things and the values and the morals that they learn at home may not be so in the school. So there will be elements in their brains fighting elements. I mean, they will go through a lot of pressure. You know, teacher says something, mom says something different than what the teacher says. Who should I follow? Most of the kids, I mean, it's natural. Most of the kids have tendency to to really incline towards what the teacher says, not what the mom says. And just like typical children, they see the teacher maybe more learned than the dad and the mom. And we do not blame the children, because the dad and the mom did not really spend some time to convince this kid that they know. So we may not even give them the sufficient, the necessary knowledge before they go to the school. And when the children learn from the teacher, they take the teacher as their example. So they have a tendency to listen to the teacher more than the parents, especially if the parents are abusive. That will just shut down and just break the bridges between the children and the parents. And it would be a matter of time for these children to make their decision. Children will come and tell you, well, Dad, I'm not going to do this anymore. Some children may come and surprise their parents, Dad, I don't think I believe in what you believe. It happened. Most of the children do things their parents don't know about, and they hide it from their parents. Many statistics are really dangerous to even hear. True statistics about what children do. There are certain areas in the internet, they scare you to even go to it. I wouldn't recommend that you even go to it. Telephone. The mobile is creating so many problems between parents and children. So youth handling is really a critical problem. As an imam, a student goes to school, they teach him something about sciences or technology or biology or what have you. It confuses him. He comes to the imam, he expects the imam to answer that question. So that means the imam need to know pretty much sciences, biology, engineering, all of these to be able to handle the kids in the best way. So there are many issues that I could never actually, in the time that we have, talk about them. There's no way. So it's just glimpses on what we will be discussing, inshallah. And I will leave plenty of time for discussions, for questions, and for answers. Mingling without compromising. And this is really a challenge. Mingling without compromising, it requires something. Our scholars said that a person should not actually go to non-Muslim countries except that they have the knowledge and the complete and the total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we know there are two vulnerabilities. الشبهات والشهوات. الشبهات, okay, you can deal with them. Anything that makes you suspicious of your belief or what have you, knowledge can handle that. And the shahawat, the desires. The desires are pretty much two desires. Desires of the tongue and the desires of the private parts. And also, complete submission to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and complete belief is necessary for that. So, the scholars made it very clear that if a person has to go to non-Muslim countries, they should have the knowledge to handle anything that is suspicious, and they should have what? The belief, the commitment, the sincerity, the devotion to Islam, to avoid everything that this lures them to or their private parts lures them to. So mingling is also necessary when it comes to the other side, the positive side. Many imams I see, they resist to go to serve as jury. But this is a very interesting and very important thing. I was not an imam when I went and saw the jury system and how the setup and the preparation before any case is started by the judge. I can testify that many things they do in preparation, subhanallah, it's subhanallah Islamic. Specifically, they make sure that, for example, a person who serves in a jury does not have interest in the defendant or does not have interest in, for example, the person who accuses the defendant. Okay? No relationship between them and so on and so forth. Subhanallah, if we go and serve in juries, it's a way for us to also express the opinion of Islam. So it's in a way da'wah. Okay? Schools, invitations to schools to give lectures and so on and so forth. Interfaith dialogue. I mean, some people may have different opinions about these, but definitely people have to figure out if within the community interfaith dialogue is something that's beneficiary. I mean, it's up to the imam. The imam has the knowledge to decide whether to do it or not to do it. But the reason I'm putting it as an issue here, because there are a lot of people who compromise. When it comes to interfaith dialogue, they compromise. And that makes most of the imams actually do not go into interfaith dialogue, because people who go to interfaith dialogue, at least from what I know, I mean, there are many compromises. But this is an issue that has to be also talked about and dealt with. Okay. Now I'm going to move quickly to the hypothesis. Okay. And by hypothesis, let me see if anybody can give me the definition, any definition of hypothesis. What do we mean by hypothesis? Go ahead.
Like an idea of what it is?
Yes, an idea about something. Okay. Hypothesis is the first stage, okay, that the brain will have. Okay. If you keep thinking about something, okay, you may hypothesize that thing. But the question is that thing provable or not provable? Is that thing logical or not logical? Once you're able to prove it, it's no longer hypothesis, it becomes a theory. Okay? Now you have the theory. Okay? Theory is different than practice. Okay? I think one of the learned people in America said, in theory, there is no difference between theory and practice. In practice, there is. So, if I have this theory and I was able to prove it, it's logical, it's acceptable, but then it may not be practical. I may not be able to transform this theory into a practical thing. The theory of flying. The theory of flying, the Muslims had it in the past. And actually, one person tried it, and he flew, he was able to fly. He jumped from a high building, he was able to fly for some time, but then he fell down and crashed, died. But he had the theory. Okay. So the theory is put into practice by Wright brothers, effectively. And that is what I still believe, the most amazing thing that ever the brains of the human beings produced. Something such big like the airplane, flies such high, with such load and such speed. It's just amazing. It's one of the miracles, subhanAllah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. So we're talking about hypothesis. Okay? I call these guesstimates. Guesstimates. And by guesstimates, I mean really رجما بالغيب. يعني when there are guesses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told about them in Quran. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about the number of people in what? In the cave. Right? يقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم ويقولون سادسهم كلبهم. What did Allah say after that? رجما بالغيب. Translation?
Guessing.
Guessing. right?
Pursuit of the unknown.
Yes, but not even just guessing. If anybody gives a better translation, please. It's a good translation, barakallahu fiqh. Anybody went through a better translation, please? Please, sisters, brothers, anyone, please. No? Speculation, right? And do we really have to speculate? Huh?
Yes, sometimes.
Okay, barakallahu fiqh. Now, let me ask you this question. Do you believe when somebody comes to you and tells you this bone is 1 million years old? Do you believe it?
No.
I don't. I don't. These are all what? Rajman Bilay. Speculations. Nowadays, not only scientists who are not Muslims, even scientists who are Muslims, they do a lot of speculation. Ironically, some of them, they are given this prize and that prize. Mind you, one scientist said that the sun every 71 years moves 1 degree to the west. Do you know the danger of that? What is the danger of that?
Rising from the west.
Right, right. So they take that as Allahu Akbar, that's a proof that Allah said the sun will eventually rise from the west. So that's a proof, Allahu Akbar. They're taking what? Science to prove what?
Quran.
Quran. Right? Let me ask anybody, please volunteer. Why did our brother say this is not something that we should do? Why do you think it is not? Yes, please go ahead.
Because if you use that, then you can calculate when.
Barakallahu fiqh.
You can,
Yes.
Yeah, you wouldn't know the day of judgment from the major hours.
Ahsan. And when we calculate it, that means we're violating one verse, which is
قل لا يعلم من في السماوات والأرض الغيب إلا الله.
Allahu Akbar. One. Another one. About the hour. Allah. Allahu Akbar. Another one. La. Okay, another one. لا تأتيكم.
إلا بغتة.
Barakallahu fiqh. Subhanallah. Okay. There are other scientists. They interpret the verse which says رب المشرقين ورب المغربين. They say المشرقين, there are two. Okay. Mashriq is what? Sunrise, right?
The place where the sun
The
rises.
place where the sun rises. Okay? So they said there are two places where the sun rises. That's what Quran says. Some scientists recently, and this is adopted by Muslims, and some Muslim scholars said these two sites are not really both true sites. One is a true site and the other one is a virtual site. Allahu Akbar. Allah talks about virtual things. Astaghfirullah. They said one is a true site is when the sun actually rises to a point where we could see it. That's the true, the actual. They said the virtual side is the reflection of the sun on the what? On the horizon. So they said this is the interpretation. Rajman Bilay. Ibn Abbas, should I listen to what Ibn Abbas said? Should I listen to what some scientists said? Ibn Abbas, the Prophet ﷺ said about him what?
He was the most knowledgeable,
Allahu
the
Akbar.
most eloquent, the most
Allahu Akbar.
learned person.
Allahu Akbar. Ibn Abbas said there are 360 sites from which sun rises and 360 sites from which or at which sun sets, right? And then the sun goes back again to the cycle. Okay? Those who say Rabbul Mashriqaini wa Rabbul Maghribain, and they interpret it the way they interpret it, what would they say about فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِرَبِّ
المشارق
المشارق? Mashariq is the plural addressing. What would they say about that? I mean, examples are too many. So, guesstimates should not be used or accepted. No question. So, guesstimates versus revelations. Can anybody read this? Barakallah. Science. This point I went through. So science in general moves from hypothesis to theory and then to realities. We know the smartest people like Newton, his theory was actually proven wrong by Einstein. Einstein's theory was actually proven deficient, and so on. So we should not really take science and get excited with it and move on to try to prove what is in Quran. Controversies, the speed of light. Scientists believe the speed of light is the fastest. Now they discover that it's not the fastest. Okay? Relativity theory, like I said, and genetics. I don't want to go through each and every one of them, but anyway, it will just give us an idea about the issues that are currently being used to confuse Muslims, and they succeeded to some extent. The rate of apostasy is really staggering. Staggering. Apostasy is pretty much everywhere. Even places where you do not expect, like in Saudi Arabia. There are so many people who've been jailed because of apostasy. So apostasy is right here in America. Many Muslim kids, they just apostate. SubhanAllah. Scientific interpretation of Quran. We spoke about the sun, of course. Some scientists now discover, they said, the earth doesn't move around itself. SubhanAllah. Okay. Let's move on. Darwin theory. Let me ask Imams, and please give us your experience. How did you handle a question? A kid comes to you and tell Imam, they tell me about Darwin theory. How do we handle it? Let me just hear from some Imams, please. Let me ask a question before this. Has any of the Imams here had in the past a student coming to him and asking him about the Darwin theory? I asked a few kids in Charlotte, what is the reaction of Muslim kids in the classroom when they go through Darwin theory?
What is Darwin theory? What is Darwin theory?
The evolution theory.
Oh, okay.
The evolution. Sorry. Yeah. The evolution theory. Kids are divided. You go ahead and ask them. Any of the kids here went through in class where they talked about the evolution, your evolution? Can you tell us your, yeah? Can you talk about this?
Well, I knew it was going against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran about when He created Adam and Islam.
Barakallahu fiqh. Mumtaz. I just want to ask you, do kids discuss it outside among themselves?
Well,
Muslim kids.
It's a homeschooling.
Or homeschooling. Barakallahu fiqh. Let me ask any kid who's going to public school. Any? Please feel free. We want to learn from you. I have a surprise for you here, subhanAllah. And I saw so many kids that I'm going to add something to this. Yes, go ahead.
I didn't believe at first because I still don't grasp the concept that we evolved from apes. And plus, the kid over there said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He created Adam, the first human. So I still don't believe at this day.
Barakallahu fiqh. Barakallahu fiqh. What if a kid came and said, Dad, no matter what you do, Mom, no matter what you do, I believe in Darwin theory. What would you tell him? How would you handle this situation? It happened, barakallahu fiqh.
Alhamdulillah, it didn't happen to me, but
Alhamdulillah, barakallahu fiqh.
but I would say prove it. Prove that it actually happened. And there's actually, I watched a nice YouTube clip that the person was asking the PhDs, the biologists, to prove that it happened, which is evolution of kind, not evolution of like the beak of a bird, for example, and things like that. And none of them could be able to prove it.
Barakallahu fiqh.
It's
Ahsan.
not provable.
Ahsan. Barakallahu fiqh. It goes back to what I said at the beginning: hypothesis, theory, and reality.
Microphone.
Which of these three is it? Which of these three is it?
Theory.
Hypothesis. They call it theory. It's not theory, because it has never been proved. An idea, somebody's subjective opinion. Other people, for their hate to the church or what have you, they just supported it, and then they put it into the books, and they mandate it as subject that students should go through. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Next is a controversial issue, which is homosexuality. I think we should be ready really for this, because in the upcoming days we would be faced with a lot of questions and situations that we have to handle. Allahu Akbar. Barakallahu. What is the wisdom behind having spouses?
satisfied.
نعم.
Tranquility.
جعل بينكم مودة.
الله أكبر. بارك الله فيك. ومن آياته أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ومن آياته, from among his signs, that he had created for you spouses, right? From where? من أنفسكم. From within yourselves, spouses. For what reason? Yes. لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة. So these, inshallah, we will extract 4 points that we will try to use them, and then as a standard, and then use same-sex marriage against these standards. Okay? Minimum requirement for marriage. What is the minimum requirement for marriage? Conditions-wise. I'm not talking about what we should do to get the marriage done. No. What is the minimum required for marriage? Absolutely minimum. Other than that, it is haram. What's the minimum?
Couple of witnesses.
No, I'm not talking about the... Yes. Opposite sexes. Has to be opposite sexes. In the Bible, in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, in Quran, even with the Hindus, with the Buddhists, and all, it's a natural thing. Okay? So this is the first condition.
Even the animals.
In the animals, subhanallah, Allahu Akbar, barakallahu fi. Naam. So the minimum requirement for marriage is that. Okay. So article number 1, we can extract from the science of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is they must be what? Opposite sexes. Can anybody guess another article?
Guardian.
Okay, barakallahu fiqh. Let me go through the difference between wife and spouse. What's the difference between wife and spouse? Barakallahu fiqh. But let's leave the men aside. What's the difference between wife and spouse?
Wife, we start with W.
Barakallahu fiqh. True.
Smart way.
Okay.
شدة الشهوات in the الذكور.
Huh?
الشهوات يعني شديدة الذكور.
Barakallahu fiqh.
Wife is
feminine.
Mhm.
It's female. Spouse can be
Either.
Linguistically,
Yeah.
wife is used for the female, but spouse could be used for male and female. Excellent. In Arabic, I want the equivalent of each in Arabic. Arabic speaking, please. Huh? Zawja. So zawja is translation of which of the two?
Spouse.
Excellent. Spouse. Zawj.
وامرأة.
Zawj could be used for
spouse.
right. So it's a spouse. And the second one is
زوجة.
no. خلاص زوج
امرأة.
نساء.
امرأة.
امرأة.
Allah says nisa'ukum.
امرأة. So امرأة is equivalent to what?
Wife.
Wife. And زوج is equivalent to what?
Spouse.
Spouse. So let's keep this in mind. زوج, spouse, امرأة,
Wife.
wife. Huh?
My wife.
Let me ask maybe the kids or anybody. Give me any reference to any of the two in Quran.
وإذ قالت امرأة عمران رب امرأة عمران.
بارك الله فيك. He said, وإذ قالت امرأة عمران. Okay, another reference.
قالت امرأة العزيز
قالت امرأة العزيز.
الآن حصحص الحق.
أحسنت بارك الله فيك. Another reference.
وخلق منها زوجها.
ممتاز. Another reference, please.
فوجد
ضرب
امرأتان
الله مثلا
امرأتان تذودان.
وامرأة عمران وضرب الله مثل الذين امرأة عمران. ممتاز. ها another one.
قال الآن اسكن أنت وزوجك.
ممتاز. Another one.
في قوله سبحانه
Can you give the examples in English?
Yeah, translation please. Yeah, your sister, you are absolutely right. Please.
Sorry, the woman of Imran.
Yes,
The woman, he uses the word woman,
you use the
Which
woman
is-
for Imran,
classifying that as a female.
okay? And he used the woman for what? Zachariah, right? And he used the woman for Ibrahim, right? What about for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Did you ever go in Quran through a verse which says the wife of the Prophet?
No, he says, Ya nisa an-nabi.
Ah, okay. Or أيوة spouse. It used what? Spouse.
يا نساء النبي.
بارك الله فيك. Yeah, it used nisa, but we're talking about these two now. بارك الله
في
فيك.
قوله سبحانه يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن من أزواجكم وأولادكم عدو لكم. أزواجكم could be your husband and could be your wife.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And let me make a distinction here. Okay? Every spouse, let me say that, every female spouse is a wife. But not every wife is a female spouse. Again, every female spouse is a wife. But not every wife is a female spouse. These are all observations. And I have substantiation from Quran. It's not my work, somebody else's work. I'm not claiming that this is hukum, but I'm just mentioning. So we will talk about 4 conditions for a woman to be called a spouse. Okay? One condition is absolutely necessary for marriage, and we know that it has to be opposite sex, right? The second 3 conditions will determine whether or not she is a spouse or a wife. If she fulfilled all 3 in addition to the first one, she is a spouse. But then at minimum she has to fulfill the first condition. Okay? So she cannot be a wife of another woman. Right? No same-sex thing. So she has to fulfill the first one. And then any of the other 3, or a combination of them, but not all 3, that will keep her as a wife. Otherwise she becomes what? A spouse. Okay, تفضل يا أخي. You had something to say, right?
I wanted to ask something, but you just mentioned.
بارك الله فيك. بارك الله فيك. بارك الله فيك. Okay, so let's take a look at violation of article number 3. Number 2, yes.
If I can say something.
Yes, go ahead.
I think we're falling in the same trap the non-Muslims, Christians, and the Jews, and so forth, fill in the first place. That's how they got into homosexuality and all the confusing. You're confusing all the youth here.
We're
That's
confusing
what
the
the
youth?
Christians done before us. They started using spouse and wife. And إحنا المسلمين, we only know wife. We only know husband. In Arabic linguistic, woman and a man. But إحنا, you're getting in stuff that the Christians got in before us, and that's how they confused the heck out of their kids, and some of them became homosexuals. We don't need to teach our kids confusing stuff.
Barakallahu fiqh. Yani, like I said, this is observation. Like I said, this may look controversial to you.
It's not conversation, yeah.
I understand. I understand. Your opinion is genuine and acceptable. Okay, but
I don't want your answer. I don't want this answer. I don't want this answer from you. That my opinion is genuine and
to me,
good.
to me, I accept it. I accept your opinion, and inshallah, I will consider it. Inshallah.
That's. I'm not debating with you, but I'm
Understand.
telling you that our religion is منقول وليس معقول.
Okay. Barakallah.
If we go into the angle of making it معقول and inventing so many points to confuse our youth,
بارك الله فيك. القاعدة الفقهية تقول لا مجال لعقل أي إن شاء الله all what I have here it will be نقل إن شاء الله. You will see it. You will see it إن شاء الله. Okay?
I will give you the time.
بارك الله فيك. So violation of article number 2. Article number 2. Okay? What is article number 2? Islam. Okay? Now he said ضرب الله مثلا للذين آمنوا امرأة فرعون. Right? Was Fir'aun a believer?
No.
Did he say زوجة فرعون? Okay? So we can see that. Okay? Who else Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed as the wife of, not the spouse of? Lut is in the next category because there is nothing that says Lut's, to my understanding, there is nothing that says that Lut's wife, okay, had problem with believing in Allah. But we will talk about Lut's wife problem. Okay? Violation of article number 3. Article number 3 is what? We said for now. Love and compassion. Right? True. This category actually for Lut's wife and Noah's wife. Okay? Right? لوط امرأة لوط امرأة نوح وامرأة لوط right? كانتا تحت عبدين من عبادنا صالحين. ما قال فكفرتا. قال ايش؟ فخانتاهما. فإذن there is no sincerity and devotion, okay, to the cause. Okay? Article number 4 is effectiveness. And I need a better translation for this. Let me give you an example, and then you will understand what I'm saying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the beginning talking about Sarah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about Sarah, it says what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he was describing the visit of the angels to the household of Ibrahim. Huh?
فصكت وجهها وقالت عجوز عظيم.
وامرأته قائمة وضحكت فبشرناها. Quran used what? امرأته, right? For Zakaria. Verse for Zakaria.
وامرأتي
وكانت امرأتي. And my wife has been to that point
barren.
Right? He also called what? Wife. Okay? So what is in common between the two women? They did not beget. Right? They did not beget. Okay? Now, did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala address Zachariah's wife differently later on?
وأصلحنا له زوجة.
Allahu Akbar. He said, وَأَصْلَحْنَا لَهُ
زوجة.
How was this aslahna manifested? In what sense?
I think in the sense of bearing children.
Bearing, she bore a child, she begot the child, Yahya, right? So from that point, she was addressed as what? Spouse. Okay? So if two are married, okay, and everything is okay with all the three, if the fourth is not satisfied, to my knowledge in Quran, the wife was not addressed as a spouse, but as a wife. Okay? The only time the wife is addressed as a spouse, and like I said, every female spouse is a wife, but not every wife is a female spouse. Okay? Why? Because one of these conditions may not be satisfied. So I'm just going to ask about a good translation for number 4, if the wife doesn't beget, inshallah. So just please consult with me after the lecture. I have to move a little bit faster. Okay? So same-sex marriage issues. Same-sex marriage violates all 4. Okay? Not only that, look at the violations of same-sex marriage. Okay? Same-sex marriage in theory is marriage, because that's what some of the countries wanted. Okay? But in practice, in reality, it's not. Okay? It violates what? The natural, psychological marriage realms. Okay? And for one of the couples to bring a child in the marriage, okay, the person who will bring the child will actually deprive the children from what? From the other sex, right? Because it's same-sex marriage, right? If a woman brought her children, then the children will be raised by 2 women, right? So the dad is not there. Okay? So it's if it's 2 men, then one of the men brings his children, then the children will grow into what? A household where there are 2 men, right? So in both cases, all of the problems of what? Single parenting are going to be inherited here, and more. And more. Okay? Now, children in a household of same-sex married couple would suffer from the same problems children raised in or by single parents suffer from. Okay? Same-sex marriage breaks families. If it is allowed, this is not Rajman bil Ghaib. Is it possible that some people actually break their marriages to go ahead with something like this? There's a chance. Okay? It converts an action that offends all religions into what? A civil right issue. It leads to intervention of officials in the affairs of religious leaders. Okay? It leads to deprivation of some men and some women from begetting children. It confuses and adversely affects children raised by same-sex parents. Okay? It imposes what is wrong upon societies that choose to practice what is right. Okay? It offends religion. And of course, it's a big sin, major sin. Okay, let me try to speed up a little bit. I'm going to move to the Barakallahu feek, ahsan. Okay. Now, can anybody define atheism? Barakallahu feek, ahsan. Definition, yes.
The scientist who doesn't believe in God.
Huh?
It's a scientist who believes or doesn't believe in God.
MashaAllah. Barakallahu fiqh. Jazakallahu khairan. Jazakallahu khairan. Any other definition? Okay. Here is what I thought, my opinion, subjective. What I thought is a good definition. Lack of belief in the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I didn't call Allah here because I didn't want to mention that. So I said God. Okay? Or gods. That is a definition that I took from one of the dictionaries. I didn't want to put
It's a wrong
the
definition.
word. Huh?
It's a wrong definition.
Some people,
لما تحط انت لما تحط gods يعني when you put gods and you're throwing a bait for young brains to go, okay, I'm really gonna sort out now electricity wise.
Barakallahu
Sorry,
fiik.
I don't mean to keep.
I just said it at the beginning that this is going to be, some of the things may be looked at as controversial.
It's not controversial, ya Sheikh. I'm not only talking about controversial, not controversial, no. But I'm talking about, يعني انت, we have lots of small young minds here. Throw baits for them, you're gonna damage their brain.
Akhi, I accept your observation, but also I would like to actually harden these kids when they go somewhere else, and I keep not telling them what the reality outside is. I have to tell them that they should expect someone to be talking about
The
this.
other point
with
is,
recipe.
forget the brains, forget the youth, forget me, forget everybody.
Inshallah.
The other thing is, كيف احنا نتجرأ على الله سبحانه؟ How dare we say gods? How dare we أصلا to start with? If we don't want to talk about, how
Even
dare
the
we say
Quran,
gods?
there is
Quran.
the Quran, they say Allah. And
هذا
it's a God.
للكفار يا أخي، القرآن يقول عن الكفار.
Hey,
The
hey.
Quran, he mentioned that.
We're not
when
talking
we're
about-
learning.
When they're outside here, gods with whatever wrong idea, definitely going to be wrong idea from another people, non-Muslim. If they're here, something, our opinion about what mean with gods, we will have background of we can answer. We can do conversation about it.
Barakallah.
I'm sorry, I'm going to say this in Arabic. I'm asking you in Arabic.
Barakallah.
أنت عربي.
Barakallah. معلش.
That doesn't make
أنا
me better
مسلم.
or me better. بس
أنا مسلم.
كيف نتجرأ على الله سبحانه وتعالى نقول وجود الإلهين؟
معاذ الله.
حتى الكلمة نفسها
معاذ الله.
ما تليق.
معاذ الله. لكن لما أقرأ القرآن
يعني we accept
لما أقرأ القرآن
قريناها.
لما أقرأ القرآن أجد إن شاء الله عذر في هذه. تفضل يا أخي.
This,
Go ahead.
this issue of atheism is
I
the
will come.
example you're giving barakallahu fikum wa nasallallahu al-hadiyana jami'an.
Ameen.
You have this problem now with some of the Muslims, particularly people that have some African background, grew up in America, have a lot of this stuff on the internet where they're debating if Adam, as it's mentioned in Quran and previous scriptures, is legitimate, because they say that they have artifacts and skulls that predate what the people say about Adam and the revelation and that. These people, they say that God is not a creator. They said he's a consciousness. So when we look at this as a type of atheism, while they're still trying to say that there's a type of God, or they're giving any facet of ما الحاد كل هذا كفر صريح.
Barakallahu fiik.
So there have to be a clear picture of the words, what I think the brother is saying in this regard when we talk about atheism.
Inshallah.
Some people say gods and goddess, so it has to be clear, not just vague like this. But jazakumullah khair.
Barakallahu fiik. Inshallah. Let's listen to the sister.
Yes, the basic belief around atheism means that there is no one. I am not governed by anyone. Whether you want to say the God, gods, whatever, it doesn't matter. I am governed by no one. I answer, there's no one that has any control or power over me.
Excellent. Barakallahu
That is
fiik.
the essence of it.
Barakallahu fiik. Jazakallah khairan. Excellent. تفضل يا أخي.
The atheists is people who worship their desire. There are people who worship their. They may say they don't have a religion, but their religion is to worship their desire.
Barakallahu.
What they took their gods their desire.
Barakallahu.
Because I've been, I already even met some of them. But the first question I asked him, do you have a family, how long you will live? No. Or do you know how much, maybe when you're going to get sick? No. So somebody governed your life.
No.
So, but you choose to deny, you follow your desire. but they may claim that they don't believe in God, they don't have believe their idols, but their idols their desire.
Barakallah fiqh.
But his definition is the basic
Yeah.
definition.
Barakallah fiqh.
Excuse me, with all respect to everybody, can we finish the lecture, and after this, any comments, any correction, anything can be put. So his thoughts, you understand, to continue, and we can benefit from the lectures. And we are not saying that everything he's saying is Quran. And he, even in the beginning, you understand, told you this. So, and he's coming to teach you and to learn from you. So, but now this way, you understand, we are not going to get the whole thing, and after this we have to cut it short, because everybody going to give explanation about something and his experience about it. We're never going to finish like this. Do you mind to, we have 10 minutes at least more to, because we have other items, and after this we can open the floor for people to talk as much as they want. Kindly.
Brothers, whatever I addressed here today, it's not speculation, it's reality. I personally witness that the kids know about things and hide things that most of the parents don't know. And it's better to open bridges with the kids to talk about pretty much everything that they will encounter outside, so that they will be immune. If you don't shape them well, if you don't actually give them the immunity, when they go out, they'll be weak. And they would be vulnerable. And there are many people outside there who will try to exploit their vulnerability. And then the kid would come one day, Dad, I have nothing to do with Islam. It's not for me. It's for you, Dad. It's not for me. Kids are taught about things and discuss things, and you can just go to the internet and you will see in some of the websites, you will see things that are amazing. Many parents don't even know what their kids go through. I'm not accusing, but I'm saying this is reality. And I'm going to repeat what the Sheikh repeated again. We're not claiming that what we're saying here is absolutely correct. Okay? I also would like to get your opinion, to learn from it, and we have to be open-minded. Okay? Handling apostasy. We talked about it. Let me just move on. Okay? Apostasy, the best way, according to some scholars, is to use the mentality of the intellect. And I'm going to give example because the kids are right here. Okay? During the Roman Empire, an envoy was sent to Baghdad. Baghdad used to be the capital of what? And it used to be what? The center of what? Knowledge, sciences, technology, oceanography, mathematics, chemistry, you name it. Allahu Akbar. The basis of sciences came from where? Allahu Akbar. Bayt al-Hikmah. May Allah shower His mercy upon all of those who founded these and also set the seeds for all the sciences. Now we're enjoying their products. The envoy came and he said to the Khalifa, please gather as many people as you can, because I have a present from the emperor, but I'm not going to give it until 3 questions are answered. Kids, please pay attention. So he came, the envoy, and he said, I wanted a platform. So he stood on the platform and he said, here are my questions. The first question, he said, is, and please be mindful, this is something that a kid did, and I'm sure the kids will be listening. Please listen carefully. The first question was, who created who? And this could continue until a question that probably would be asked, which is what? Yes. Okay? So let me just put it in a different way so that people may not find it offensive. Anything before Allah? No. Barakallahu fiqh. So he said, I want to tell me who was before Allah. Question number one. This is a Roman envoy. The second is a question about where does Allah face? Which direction? The third question is about what Allah is doing at that moment. These are the questions asked. Questions like this could be asked. Actually, some of the people are actually reincarnating these questions. Go to the internet. Go to the internet. So, people were stunned. Nobody felt like they could go or they should go to answer the questions. A little kid, a young boy, 8 years old then, he said, Daddy, may I go and answer these questions? Kids, listen please. May I go and answer these questions? His daddy, he said what? Yes. Look at the etiquette of the kid. After his daddy gave him permission, he went to whom? To the Khalifa. Allahu Akbar. He said to the Khalifa, may I answer the questions? Told him yes. So he went and he said to the envoy, I will answer the question. The envoy was standing on the platform, looking down, the kid. Both meanings of looking down. Looking down at the kid and looking down the kid. Okay? Surprise. The kid said, I'm going to answer the question. So, what was the first question? What is before Allah? So the kid told him, please count from 10 down. So he said, what is before 10? He said, 9. What's before 9? He said, 8. All the way. What's before 2? He said, what? What's before 1? He said, nothing. Nothing. He said, you believe there is nothing before 1, and you question there is something before Allah. He couldn't find any legitimate, acceptable argument against the boy. He said, you got it. What is the second question? Yes. So the boy said what? Bring a candle. They brought a candle and he lit the candle. Guess what was the answer of the kid? What do you think the answer of the kid would be?
Which is the candle, which is
yes.
The light of the candle.
Absolutely. And then he substantiated that from Quran. Allahu Akbar. Barakallahu. Kids, are you following? What was the third question? Kids.
What is Allah doing at this moment?
What is Allah doing at this moment? So the kid was where? Where was the kid when he was answering the question?
On the ground.
On the ground. Where was the envoy?
Platform.
All the way up high. The kid told him, it's not fair really. You're the one who are asking the questions, challenging my people, and you're staying up there, and I am down here answering the questions. I need to get up there, at least for the last chance. The Roman envoy thought it is logical. He said, okay. He said, okay, you have it. You get up there. And he went where? He stayed on the ground. He said to him, Allah at this moment knew that there will be an arrogant atheist who will come and question his existence, and he would know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused that arrogant to go down to the earth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised me up to answer this question. And that's what Allah does with people like you, and that's what Allah does with people who are believers. He put them up and he put the other ones down. نكتفي بهذا القدر. بارك الله فيكم. جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. There are a lot of actually good, rational, acceptable arguments that we could give for physicians, for engineers, for agriculture, for scientists, for insectology, for all of them we have answers for them inshallah. But anyway, let's خلاص نكتفي بهذا القدر.
لا كان في ايه تاني؟ كان
أربعة بس ما في وقت هلا 30. إذا في أسئلة يمكن تأتي بعد. Questions? Comments? Please تفضل بارك الله فيك.
Jazakallah khair.
الله يكرمك.
I think we also have to, in a way, like Jazakallah, very beautiful things that we can actually use in
إيهاب
our
لو
lives.
سمحت ممكن ترفع صوتك شوية.
It's like you said, beautiful
خليه
things that
خليه خليه يا شيخ خليه.
we can actually use in our lives and things like that. But I think we still have to mention what the brother was saying about تقديم النقل على العقل. Like for example, the argument, I think it was given by Ali bin Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, in which he said if deen was built on logic, then wiping of the socks would be from the bottom and not from the tongue.
True.
And so like, let's say for example, the kid or I or any Muslim fell short at a certain point, and they really did not know how to keep going with an argument. At that point, we should always go back to the submission to Allah Azza wa Jal and نقدم النقل على العقل.
بارك الله فيك.
And I think that particular point also have to be emphasized even for a few minutes, just so that we can fully submit to Allah Azza wa Jal.
أحسنت بارك الله فيك. Let me just add to the lecture. This is an excellent point. يعني the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was actually writing what? Asking the Sahaba, the companions, to write what? To write what? The covenants. In the covenants he said what? Right? Min Muhammad Rasulullah, from Muhammad the messenger of Allah, right? And then what did the other party say?
We don't recognize you.
Yes. So he said what? The Prophet ﷺ said, erase it. And he said, where is it? Look, not just erase it. He said, just erase it. Okay? It may not happen, but somebody might think, oh, maybe what was erased was not that one. He said, tell me where it is. He said, it's right here. He said, erase it. It was erased. Ali ibn Abi Talib also, when they were trying to write, okay, the reconciliation document, when the situation between Ali and Muawiyah, and he said, min Ali, okay, ibn Abi Talib, and he said, Khalifat Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, we don't believe in you, Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, okay, take it. So they arrested. When we are dealing with non-believers, the only thing we can use is actually the mentality, the logic, okay? And that's what the brother wants us or me to mention, is that I have to emphasize that this is only with non-believers. With believers we have to use what? We have to use al-naql, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this same boy, let me ask you this question. Do you know who is the boy? The boy grew up to become a very famous scholar. Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Abu Hanifa. And let me tell you how Imam Abu Hanifa handled tough questions. From whom? Al-Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. Who is Imam Muhammad al-Baqir? Grandson. Al-Hussein ibn Ali begot whom? Ali ibn Abdin. Ali ibn Abdin begot whom? Muhammad al-Baqir. Muhammad al-Baqir begot whom? Ja'far al-Sadiq, right? And so on. So Muhammad al-Baqir and Ja'far al-Sadiq, they lived at the same time when Abu Hanifa was living. As a matter of fact, Abu Hanifa was a student of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir also. And then Abu Hanifa became what? The teacher of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. So Imam Muhammad al-Baqir asked Abu Hanifa, he said, Abu Hanifa, you have been using al-aql, you've been using this, and you're not using what? Yes, the Prophet ﷺ conveyed to us. And it's a long subject, because this Imam is coming from Mecca and Medina. Many Sahaba were there at the time. Many hadith were known at the time. Imam Abu Hanifa was in Persia, I'm sorry, not Persia, in Iraq. And then the Persian and the Roman philosophers and all of them, some of them are in Baghdad, some of them are injecting some suspicious things. And Abu Hanifa had to handle situations where he had to give his opinion because he didn't have at the time access to the hadith. So he had to answer some questions, and subhanallah, the same philosophy, the same methodology of Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik actually protested. He said, Imam Malik, when he met Abu Hanifa, he asked him, why did you do this, that? He convinced him. He convinced him to the extent that Imam Malik, he took his handkerchief and he wiped his sweat. And then he told the followers, and Imam Malik is great, Imam Ahmad is great, Imam Shafi'i is great, all our Imams are great. He was asked about Imam Abu Hanifa. He said he is a person whom, if he talked to you and he was pointing to a bar, metal bar, he said if he talked to you about this metal bar as gold, he will convince you that it is gold. And Imam Malik, because Imam Abu Hanifa was encountered by questions, hypothetical questions, and then he would answer them. So Imam Malik, he said to him, why are you dealing with hypothetical questions? Why don't you deal with true questions? You assume a question would be asked and then you give the answer to the assumption. Why don't you just deal with this? Umar ibn al-Khattab said, don't assume an answer. He answered him very logically, to the extent that Imam Malik was convinced. Somebody came to Imam Malik and told him, Imam Malik, if I'm having an egg on my hand and the egg dropped, and then I saw what? Crack. And then out of the egg comes out what?
Yolk.
Yes. Not yolk.
Chicken. Oh,
Yes.
Oh, chicken.
Yes. He said, is it halal for me to eat it? Imam Abu Hanifa, he said, you're from Baghdad. He said, yes. nothing against brother from Baghdad. But there were some people who were deliberately there to actually mislead Muslims. Another situation is that another person came and he said what? Imam Malik, he said, what if a person told me, Himar? He said, that person should be lashed. He said, what if another person told me, Hasan? He said, you should be lashed. Okay, so the questions that Imam Abu Hanifa told Imam Muhammad al-Baqir is the following. He said, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, and I'm just going to use one of them, I'm not going to use all of them because of the time. He said, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, if a woman gave birth, she wouldn't be at the time to pray and to fast. Correct? He said, yes. He said to him, which one is highest priority? Prayer or fasting? Prayer. He said, if a woman finished with the delivery time, should she make the prayer or should she make the fasting?
She does the fasting.
Make the fasting. He said, if I am to use my brain, prayer is much more important, highest priority, first thing to be looked at. If I am to use my brain, I would have used this. He said, Imam, if a person died, he had a girl and a boy. Which one is stronger, the girl or the boy? The boy. He said, if I'm to use my brain, I would have given the girl twice what I would give to the boy. Did I? He said, no. And he went on and on, but I'm not going to go through them. So he used what? Yes, alhamdulillah, and he used evidence also to prove. So with Muslims, yeah, we use evidence, but with non-Muslims or with atheists, if a non-Muslim, you told them Quran says, I don't believe in Quran, how would you convince me? So I hope that inshallah maybe in some other time some of the mashayikh can do a better job in this aspect. Yes, go ahead.
Jazakallahu khairan. On the subject of the brother objecting to you using the word gods, if Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran himself mentions in so many surahs, أَمِ اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِهِ آلِهَةً, plural, and then إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ لَن يَخْلُقُوا ذُبَابًا وَلَوْ اجْتَمَعُوا لَهُ. If Yusuf ibn Yaqub alayhi wa ala nabiyina salatu wassalam mentions أَأَرْبَابٌ مُتَفَرِّقُونَ خَيْرٌ أَمِ اللَّهُ الْوَاحِدُ الْقَهَّارُ. So the word gods, if we don't, Islam is a deen of knowledge. If we do not acquire knowledge, whether it's gods or God or, and we are not willing or able to address the subjects, whatever they are, whether it's homosexuality or atheism or this or that, we have to be knowledgeable.
Barakallah. Ahsan, barakallah. Wallahi, yani the brother, I respect him, and he believes in what he said, and I agree with him to some extent, of course. But also, what you said is absolutely right, and this is this is actually the reason that I said this. I honestly talked about in the past things that are much more controversial than this one, and in one masjid, some parents were too angry that they left out, and then they wanted me to come and talk to them. When we finished, I went and I talked to them.
Reality.
When I told them exactly that I had a survey, I gave it to the kids answered the survey, and I had it with me. But I wouldn't tell them that this survey is from here. I just told them this is reality. And I said everybody should really watch what his kids are doing. This is a what? This is a heads up. I told them, look, since you wanted it, this is a survey, I did it right here. And whatever I talked about, it's right here. 60% of the students, or less than 16, they said they tried marijuana. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about Muslims, community in the masjid. They tried sex, they tried marijuana, they tried sex, they tried liquor. Reality is difficult to accept. And we have tendency not to look forward and try to see how our kids are doing, what is in their mind, what goes on in the schools. We're too busy with what? We're too busy with life. يعني سبحان الله يعني النقل يقول اليتيم هو من هو ايه؟ النقل مات أبوه. بس يعني سبحان الله يعني معلش نستعمل العقل هون. الشاعر قال ايش؟ ليس اليتيم من انتهى أبواه من هم الحياة وخلفاه ذليلا. إن اليتيم هو الذي تلقى له أم تخلت أو أب مشغول. سبحان الله.
هذا شيء.
ليس اليتيم من انتهى أبواه من هم الحياة وخلفاه ذليلا. إن اليتيم إن شاء الله إن اليتيم هو الذي تلقى له أما تخلت أو أبا مشغولا. Translation إن شاء الله. Volunteer please. Volunteer.
The orphan is not the one he lost his father and mother, but the orphan is the one he have a mother neglecting him and busy father.
Yes. And subhanallah,
most of our children are orphans.
I agree. And I personally admit that I don't give my children enough time. I'm serious. I will admit. I mean, if I lie to you, I'm not going to lie to Allah.
Sheikh, Barakallah Feek, mashallah. Myself, I involved with a lot of kids with more behind the knock. I went to them and behind, who says it will be very naive if we stick with knock, because the kids that have their another model in their another life, in the, especially the school life.
No.
And we never ever thinking, we talk about, I don't talk about college age or high school age. You'll be amazed from elementary school. It's very, very, we have to be aware when we get child come ask about the theory issue or atheist or homosexuality, 99% of the parents, and the parents unfortunately most of them coming from background Arab or Muslim, grew up in everything Islamic behind them. Immediately, what the first thing that going shout them, oh, how you say that, how you talk about that, and that's not right.
Barakallahu
Actually,
feek.
first action,
No.
you have to first thing whatever happen, first action your face, because it's very important. If you talk something different than what your face reaction, your child gonna understand you don't say the truth. You have to control your face reaction from first thing when he asks this question to hold down. And best thing if it's surprise and that's gonna be surprise for everybody, just make this answer like cool him down until educate yourself. If you are never be you are old, you just educate yourself quickly, and after that, few days later, whatever, try and find way to open the subject again to tell him what you learned. Don't tell him, come, I will tell you what happened for, no, don't wait for, make a way to
Knowledge, brother, is the
Barakallahu
base.
feek. Jazakallahu khairan. Let's listen to the
Knowledge.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف خلق المرسلين. First we thank you, it's beautiful, and we welcome you over here. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Second, there was a very important point you mentioned about trying to use scientific theories to prove Quran, which I think a lot of us agree that shouldn't be done. At the same time, we shouldn't be shy of mentioning what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أولم يرى الذين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أولم يرى الذين كفروا أن السماوات والأرض كانتا رتقا ففتقناهما وجعلنا من الماء كل شيء حيا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قل هاتوا برهانكم إن كنتم صادقين. So, our deen, our religion, even though we all agree that in naql we take what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us, but we also have to use our brains, and we have to use what the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to prove our religion. So, كما أن القرآن هو كلام الله المعجز وهو آيات الله المعجزة. The whole universe is also the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'll give like a small example, like Sheikh Adli yesterday, when there is a fire, and he was talking to the kids, and he mentioned the skin. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, بدلناهم جلودا. So this is actually, we actually have moved from hypothesis and from theory to reality, to a proven fact. Even though some of the realities change, as you mentioned, like the speed of light, but we also have to tell them this is interpretation. Even though this is a fact, but we say it's interpretation and maybe proven wrong, and the thing which we prove may be actually more closer to the Quran than this. So it's a balance. We shouldn't try to go all the extreme to prove the Quran by using hypotheses and theories. That's true. But also we shouldn't be shy, because people go to the other end and say, we don't talk about, there is no such thing as scientific miracles in Quran. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and this ayah subhanallah is miraculous, because أَوَلَمْ يَرَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ, the الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, the disbelievers, are the ones who are going to prove this point, أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا. Not the believers. The believers, alhamdulillah, we're not proving anything right now. The disbelievers, the unbelievers, the kuffar are the ones who are going to prove this verse. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. The water is actually the source of life. And that's what they prove. So we should go in the balance. We shouldn't go all the way trying to every verse explain it based on hypothesis, but also when things are now solid facts, we shouldn't be shy to mention that in Quran. That's Allah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Barakallahu feek. Barakallahu feek. Inshallah, I'll try to conclude, inshallah.
Yeah, just a little
You mentioned that the orphan is not the one who lost his parents.
No.
Was neglected.
No. We mentioned two opinions. The opinion of Islam, and we mentioned what the poet said. A poet mentioned this. So we're not saying this is the actual orphan. He is actually translating the reality of the orphan. So the orphan, his dad is gone, but his mom is busy. So it's consistent with also the definition of the orphan in Islam. It's consistent with it.
معنويا.
ها؟ مجازيا. أحسنت. بارك الله. تفضل. Go ahead.
But there was something else that you said. I know. I'm just
Yeah.
clear it up for me. You mentioned that, and somebody else added on, and about somebody being neglected, the parents neglecting the child as an orphan.
Oh, not Somali. In general, the poet said an orphan is not the one whose dad or mom are deceased. He said an orphan is the one whose dad is busy and whose mom forsaken him.
Okay, so that's just somebody saying that.
That's just somebody saying
Okay, I
that.
just want to be okay.
But in reality, look, dad is gone. If dad is dead, dad is gone, right? But if mom forsaken him, it's almost pretty much the
No,
same.
but even if the father's dead, if the father's dead, the kid, and he's with the mother, he's still an orphan, correct?
Yes.
Right. So that's clear. I was just talking about the other thing.
Metaphor. Naam, barakallah fik. I just want to mention.
I know that. I'm just talking about.
I just want to ask you a question. Did you hear about the physician, very famous, who accepted Islam? Not yet. No, a different one.
Maurice Bouquet.
Another one. Another one. Another one.
What specialty?
Jeffrey Lang, I think, is a mathematician.
What kind of science?
He's OBGY.
More. That's
OBGY. No, another one. This one was actually studying what goes on in the womb. And he found out something interesting. We know about the signature, right? Kids, you studied about signature, right? The DNA signature, you studied about, right? He proved, I cannot say he did or he didn't, but he said he proved that the signature stays with the mother, and then after 3 months, the signature is gone. And the signature stays with the mother who begets for 4 months, because the signature would have been with the feta, and it will stay for like 4 months. Subhanallah. He went into Quran, and it was what?
Yeah, you're talking about
Al-Idda. Ahsant, barakallah.
This is the reason she could not marry
Yes,
person before
absolutely,
such time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Naam. So even though the woman may not get pregnant, right? But still, the signature will stay there for like 3 months. So subhanallah, yani the scholars, they call this one tuhra. يعني إيش? When everything is cleaned up, subhanallah. He immediately accepted Islam. Let me just conclude by saying a couple of things here. Okay? A dad came, and the dad is saying, hey, Islam is not for me. Not the kid, the dad. Listen carefully, please. Why? Argument after argument after argument. Where did you get these ideas from? From my kid. Listen, from my kid. The kid was convinced somewhere, right? The kid came and convinced the dad. What does that tell you?
The kid wears the pants.
The irony is, today, it's not the Orientalists who are trying to mislead us. It is some people from among us. They're using Quran and Sunnah, interpreting it in their own way to mislead. And there's a lot of this in the internet, in terms of videos, in terms of articles, and so on and so forth. So I hope and pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who will devote enough time to their kids. Be open-minded. Address things that our culture puts a barrier between us and them. No, that barrier is bad. We have to change. We're living over here. We have to prepare our children to face the challenges, to clear the hurdles in front of them, and to answer logically, rationally, in a smart way when they are asked. بارك الله فيكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك. والعصر ان الانسان لفي خسر الا الذين امنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
لا تفضل أحسن الله إليك وجعل في كفة حسناتكم. You know, behalf of all of you would like to thank Abu Saleh, Dr. Tayyib, Abu Yaman for this beneficial lecture, inshallah. And always say that perfection only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it beneficial for all of us, that we learn something out of this, that inshallah to improve our relationship with our children and to have a better way to raise our children, inshallah, and to try to meet the challenge that meeting ourselves and our families. We'll ask you kindly, for those who are from Columbia, South Carolina, or living in Columbia, South Carolina, to let our guest first go in front of you. Don't try to get in the line or before them. Let them go upstairs first so they can have their breakfast, and after this we will eat also, but after them. So I appreciate this. Now our program, before you go to sleep or before you go shopping or whatever, we're going to try to the meeting for the imams about 9:30. Is good enough? So give it what? How much time we need? About an hour and a half at least. We have a long schedule. Huh?
I will have 2 hours.
Okay, let's say 9:30, 10:30, 11 o'clock, and if we start the lecture 11 o'clock, 12, 12:30. All right, let's make it by 10 o'clock. Is this okay? What do you think? You tell me. Excuse me? Okay, so what's going to happen now is that it's going to be a breakfast, and after breakfast it's up to you if you want to take a nap or you want to go socializing or going to the flea market, or we're going to have our own market outside, inshallah. 10 o'clock will be the meeting for the imams. You're welcome to participate. It's not only for the imams, but it's designed for the imams. And after this, the second lecture will be starting at 11 o'clock. Wait, 10, 9:30, 10:30, 11. Yes, the second lecture will be starting at 11 o'clock. Okay? Who's giving the lecture is going to be Imam Dawood. This is the second lecture, is it? Imam Dawood, coming from Atlanta, inshallah, is going to be giving the lecture. The second lecture at 11 o'clock. The second lecture, Brother Akacha, is going to be what time? Brother Akacha, what time? At 11. Jazakallah khairan. And after this is going to be Salat al-Zuhr, and after this will be the lunch, and after this will be the third lecture. So by 3 or 3:30 we finish. By 3:30 we'll be finishing. Those who would like to remain with us, they're more than welcome. Those who are from Colombia, remember we still have a meeting after Maghrib, which we call it weekend. عندك شيء يا دكتور؟
نطلع من بره.
عايز تطلع من بره؟
السلم اللي بره.
طيب والحريم هياكلوا فين؟
تحت ياكلوا فين؟
اوكي. تحت داخل المبنى؟ Okay. All right. Brothers, we're going to exit from the main door. You make a right When you go to the corner of the building, make a right again and take the steps to upstairs, please. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Jazakumullah khairan. Again, I repeat my thanks for all of you, especially to Dr. Abu Tayyib. Inshallah, Jazakumullah khairan.